Hey, as you know, the Portland City Council has recently been talking about allowing taller buildings in some neighborhoods. The thought is that we need more housing units, so it will help prices drop a bit if we allow in the bigger buildings. But some of those decisions are kind of controversial, especially if that tall building happens to be going up next to your house. So we thought we'd ask the guys from Left Hook, Right Jab to weigh in on this. So here is your question tonight. We have KXL's Lars Larson and former Portland City Commissioner Steve Novick back with us. Should Portland allow taller buildings and increase density with more multi-family homes? And Lars, you are first.
Tracy, thank you very much. Steve and I have talked about this, and we may not disagree that much, but I'm in favor of letting every property owner do with his or her property what they want to do. You may not like what the person next door is doing, but if you don't like it, buy their piece of property. If you can't do that, then you need to put up with what they do. The only thing I'd ask is that the city stay out of it as much as possible. I get sick and tired, Steve, of the city council, most of whom have never done anything like this. They've never developed property. They've never built anything. That's why they're in government. Them deciding for the private property owners what's the best way to develop the property. So I say let them build as high as they want to go.
Well, I wouldn't say that property owners should be allowed to do whatever they want with their property. You shouldn't have a pig farm in a residential neighborhood. But I do think that we need to allow more housing to be built. We've got a housing affordability crisis in Portland, and it's simple supply and demand. A lot of people want to move here. They're bidding up the price of housing. So if we don't want this to become San Francisco, where only rich people can afford to live, we need to allow more housing to be built. If single-family homes are becoming unaffordable for normal people, allow more duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes to be built. If rich people want to live in high-rises, let them. That means they're not competing with us for the rest of the housing.
I'd agree with you there. And here's the other problem. If you've looked at some of the most recent population stats, Portland itself is not growing. The metro area is growing, but they're finding out, I think, as some of the millennials head into their 30s, that people need some room, especially when you get a wife or a husband, a dog, and a kid or two or three. You decide that downtown cool, hip apartment or condo is not as attractive as it used to be. And I think we should be careful about having the city decide this is what we should do, because 20 years from now, we may be wishing we had more single-family homes.
Actually, Lars, the city is growing. It's growing fairly rapidly. The mayor was saying this morning we're adding about 100 people a day. But another reason to allow more multifamily housing, more big apartment buildings, is climate disruption. When you have more people living closer together, then it makes mass transit more economically viable, for example. The reason New York's subway system sort of works is you've got a lot of people per stop. So if you allow more housing to be built, it means the price of housing won't keep on going up and up, and it means we can limit our carbon emissions. Now, I know there's a lot of people who say, I don't want my neighborhood to change. My answer to that is, well, your neighborhood can change physically by having bigger buildings, or it can change socially by only rich people being able to live there. It's not we don't have a choice between having the neighborhood not change at all and having it change.
I love how Steve can bring climate change into almost any discussion, but when he says the New York subway system kind of works, no, it kind of doesn't work. It was a for-profit business until the government took it over about 100 years ago, and ever since then, it has lost billions and billions of dollars. It doesn't exactly work, and I'm not in favor of having people live in little rabbit hutches so that we can fund the light rail dreams of the people at City Hall.
I lived in New York and it worked pretty well. And by the way, go Blazers, beat the Pelicans.
And could I have just one little pig? Maybe not a whole pig farm, but I do like pigs. Okay, we're tallying up those results and we'll bring those to you in just a couple of minutes. Chris?
KGW.com/vote or vote now on the news app.